Welcome to Politics and Tactics. We got a great show for you tonight. We have Dave McGlenn, RJ, and Dave Polikoff here. We're going to be talking about training props today. And let's start off with Dave McGlenn because Dave wrote a recent article within the last year or so about it. And Dave, you want to start off the conversation?
Sure. Thanks for having me. It seemed like a long journey for us to make this happen, but we made it happen. You know, four fireman minds together, and what do we need producers for, right? I guess.
I'm definitely not an IT guy, so
Yeah. No, we made it work. So, whatever. Anyway, no, thanks. Seriously, thanks for having me on. This is a conversation I enjoy having, as most people that have either followed anything I've said or done, or you guys on the show. You know, I'm a firm believer in training. First of all, like I love training; it's my thing. But then, you know, in my experience with training props, not everything's readily available, right? So, like, we don't always have the funding, we don't always have the amenities or the resources to get the things that we need to secure good training props. So, the nice thing with firemen is that we're very resourceful people, and we network with people and we find ways. In my experience, two places that I worked, we developed a nice training grounds with a bunch of different props that had different disciplines through Connex boxes and wood props and anything we can get our hands on, right? And we really made like as makeshift as it seems, like Sanford and Son would be very proud and call it a state of the art training facility because we really put together something really nice. And I think that the other nice thing was that the team, all jokes aside, really came together because they had their hands in it. So it's their training grounds because they started to, they built it. It's off of their labor, and you just grow from there. You know, the as the show goes on, we'll talk more about it. But like, the expression "one man's garbage is another man's treasure." In the fire service, you can find relevant training props, useful, practical training props, just driving around your first due and seeing some shit somebody's throwing out, and just make the best of it.
RJ?
Yeah, so I totally agree with Dave. One of the things, budget is always obviously always the biggest thing for people, and so I think it all starts with a mission, right? What's the mission that you want to try to accomplish? One of the biggest things that we struggle with was we have a force puncture prop not having wood for the prop. And one of the biggest things that became my mission was how do I secure wood for our prop? I got this idea when we ran a call in a neighborhood with houses that are going up. We have a ton of roll off dumpsters. So then it became my mission to dumpster dive for scrap wood. And then we were able to take that wood and cut it down to make boxes and boxes of uh, two by twos to go into our prop. So I think it all starts with a mission, right? What do we want to achieve? And if you have a will, there's a way. I think that ultimately when you try to be all over the place without a mission, then it kind of you end up with nothing, and you really don't get anything accomplished. So the biggest thing is what is your mission? What are you trying to accomplish? And then execute it. Like Dave said, we are very resourceful people, right? Again, dumpster diving, you're able to find this and that. You'd be surprised some of the stuff that you can come up with. So here's another one, right? While we're in this dumpster and we're diving for wood, we end up coming across flex duct, right? And so again, this is stuff that they installed in the house, cut it down, the scraps they throw in a dumpster. Well, that is very much something that we can get entangled with when we're running house fires, right? Now I cut it down, bring it to the firehouse, and I say, guys, how many of you guys actually have cutters that can cut this material, right? So guys get out their cutters, and then they realize, oh, my cutters can cut it, or my cutters can't cut it. What they thought would work, doesn't work. So again, just being able to come up with things on the fly, I think, is helpful, but also resourceful. Again, all starting from what is your mission, what you're trying to do.
And I think that's great when you're saying about the mission. And the other thing is you don't need to recreate the wheel. You can go reach out to RJ, Dave, and other instructors, other academies, and see what they built for props to make training interesting and fun. Dave Polikoff?
Yeah, I was writing some stuff down, as we were talking. We've talked, all of us have talked on our various shows together. One of our biggest pet peeves are empty burn buildings, without the props and the furniture and all that stuff in there. But, I'll throw this right to RJ. When we go across the country and we teach for Capital Fire, where are the two places that we stop before we start doing our training? What two stores do we go to?
Home Depot and Goodwill.
Home Depot and Goodwill. Home Depot because we're going to need screws or whatever, and then Goodwill, we'll go in there and drop $60, and we'd have toys and clothes and furniture just to throw into these training places. It's got to be realistic. If your training is not realistic, then you're doing a huge disservice to your people. Same thing. We drive down the road, you see a desk or a couch on the side of the road that it says free. If we're in our truck, that thing's going in the back of our truck because it's going to be a prop. And the last thing is I tell people to go to your local Lowe's or Home Depot. They like to donate to the fire department because they write it off as a tax write-off. I remember we were evaluating new ventilation saws at my volunteer house, and we wanted to build a roof prop. And we took the ladder truck, went down to the Home Depot, and talked to the manager and said, "Hey, this is what we're trying to do. Is there any like scrap wood or whatever? Maybe you can give us a deal on it." And he goes, "Well, what do you need?" I mean, we had already had the plans drawn up, and he said, "Go get what you want. No big deal." We had $800 worth of wood and bolts and nails and things and shingles. And we built a roof prop that had 4 sheets of dry or plywood on it, and for free. They gave that stuff to us for free. So talk to your local businesses. Everybody loves to help the fire department. They don't like police officers, but they love the fire department. So take advantage of that.
Yeah, I'll tag on to that. Right, we've had great success with Home Depot hooking us up with stuff, but I'll even go a step further and say I think one of the most important things is when you can make a connection with a company. Goodwill is very hit or miss depending on where you go. I've seen it go many different ways. A lot of them will help you. A lot of them will also point you out back. So, with Goodwill, a lot of times they will get rid of toys that they can't sell and they'll put them out by the dumpster out back, which is, nothing more than what we need is obstacles, right? But I will say this: I've had great success with inviting people to see what they're donating to. So, when ask, a Home Depot or somebody for wood, and or a Goodwill, and you ask them for toys or something like that, and say, I would love for you guys to come see what we do, so you guys can get an idea of what you're giving us stuff for. That works out really well because we've had businesses, the Home Depot, and people come by the firehouse and they're like, "Wow, this is pretty cool what you guys are doing," and they don't understand what we need it for, but when they get to see it, it puts it all together, and then they want to continue to keep doing that because they know it's going to good use. Like Dave said, getting with local companies, is really good. But I'll double down on that by saying invite them to come see what you're doing with the stuff that they give you, and then that would really pay dividends. And then a lot of times, they'll come back and help you tenfold, or get on a rotating schedule with them. Maybe we'll donate to you guys quarterly or something like that. We've had great success with that.
There's a couple other places that you should look to that I've had great success with. One is your city's housing authority. If you have a housing authority for the city or the county, a lot of times they'll help you out. Another resource is if you have a dump in your community or a recycling center in your community, if you reach out and say, "Hey, next time someone's throwing out a couch, throwing out a crib, put it to the side for the fire department," that goes a long way. I love RJ's suggestion of inviting the individuals that are donating to the training ground to see what it's going through. The other organization that you can reach out to, Dave Polikoff talked about a roof prop. Reach out to your phone company, your telephone company, or your power company, a lot of times they'll be willing to put in telephone poles in the ground as the foundation for your roof prop, or anything that you want to use telephone poles for. That's a great resource as well. Dave McGlenn, any other ideas of places
Yeah.
to?
So I mean, I've touched on this in a couple of things I wrote and taught, but RJ just sparked my interest, and then again, you, Frank, with what you said, just all three of you with the stuff you were saying. So like to address one part, don't forget salvage yards. So we're in the business of having to cut cars, do rescues. So to put everything together of what you guys were just recommending, right? So like Dave and RJ were talking about Goodwill, talking about donating stuff, right? So they have toys. Well, there's car seats and stuff like that that gets donated to these places. Some of them aren't allowed to resell them for certain legal purposes or whatever, right? So one of the things that we've done is we've been fortunate when we've done training is we've linked up with the local salvage yard. I gave this guy a coin. I got, especially in the military, it's big with the coins, but a lot of fire departments are doing it now. Coin this guy, gave this guy a patch, gave this guy a t-shirt. This guy gives us 2 cars a year. He'll even he'll give me like a menu. Like I'm like, hey, listen, I want something bigger, whatever you have. I want something that was an EV thing. Now, obviously, he can't come with everything connected, but it gives the guys the eyes to be able to see what they're looking for, how to shut that stuff off. You get the donations from like places like Goodwill. We put a car seat in there. If one of your guys has grown kids and he's just got a car seat laying around for the past 10, 15 years, they bring it in. Same thing with the cribs, the pack and plays. You could go to these stores, or even guys in your station, they don't have a use for it anymore. There's no reason to recycle it, right? You got a training building, put that stuff in a training building. That's something to search for, right? All these things that you can add to your training program to make it more practical, make it more relevant, and it costs you nothing, right? It costs you nothing. And this is the thing that, like, a lot of times people will try to blame it on budgets. Listen, man, I work for the federal government. I've been on the receiving end of that fucking budget shit for too long. All right. You got to get innovative. That's where the resourcefulness comes in. That's where networking comes in. You go out there, you start making friends with people, knowing who's in your first due, knowing who needs to be your friend, knowing who has what. Local lumberyard, they got shit that gets warped or whatever that's been sitting out, or they just want to donate stuff, like Dave said before about tax write-offs, right? The other side of that is, like RJ said, you invite these people to see what you've done with what they gave you. So, like, you can invite the people that own the salvage yard, the people that own the lumber yard, whoever, right? You invite them to be like, hey, listen, let me show you what we built out of this. And we're going to run a drill so you could check it out and, like, come in with us. I mean, don't put them in a live fire if you can't, but, bring them into the situation. Let them see what's going on. Set up a motor vehicle accident with the cars that you got from the salvage yard, and have that guy just, hey, man, like, wow, like, this is really cool what you guys do, They appreciate it that much more because they get to see it. And then if they want to take some pictures, or if you could take some group shots and then make a little certificate of appreciation with this photo and give it to these businesses, they love, you go in these offices and they hang that shit up in there. You see it. They love that stuff. And it's all free. And your training program is that much better. Your capabilities have grown that much more, and your people are able to execute the skills that are needed, all because you just knocked on someone's door and asked them if they could maybe be willing to give you something that they thought was junk.
Yeah. Frank, can I say something real quick? So,
Absolutely.
while we're talking about little bits going a long ways, and to Dave's point, one thing that I do consistently that works pretty well. I have a generic thank you letter that I keep on the computer, and all I have to do is go back and change the date, the business, and the product, right? And with $10 of my own money, I can go to the dollar store and buy 10 frames. And all I do is literally print off the letter. I put it in a frame, and I put a patch in the frame. It looks very, very good, but it's very, very cheap. I buy a bunch of patches from our station store. I'll keep them in my locker and literally present them with something. And there's so many businesses that literally, you walk in a business and they have that thing on the wall right when you walk in. And very cheap. Like I said, $10. I go buy 10 frames, a generic letter that I have on the computer that I could print off, and it costs $10 to do that. That's an idea for officers. That's an idea for people who are trying to find ways to say thank you. The picture thing is great. And I'll tell you what is really big now is social media, right? We have since I've been assigned here at One Engine, we didn't have necessarily a social media presence, and I told all three groups here. I really want to have a social media presence. Now, the fine line is who we're attracting on our social media, right? Whereas sometimes you can be a social media presence that's community based, or you can be a social media presence that's firefighter based. I really want to be firefighter based here, and so. But what I like to do is I like to always at least give a thank you publicly on social media, since everybody is on social media. Social media is the way to go now. And so, just a group picture, like Dave said, a group picture of everybody in the area or training or around the rig or in the training yard or whatever, and just tagging that company also goes a long way, because companies, especially around here, companies are really trying to get into the social media world because that's the new thing. So when they see you tag them in something like that, it becomes a really honorable thing that they
No, they
really
love it. It
yeah.
builds the algorithm. Gets them free advertisement, all because they just gave you something to have fun with in your training program. That's a
All day
great
long,
suggestion.
all day long.
Dave Polikoff, are we missing any other resource to reach out to? The only other two that I can think of is if you have a college in your district, a lot of times after the kids move out, they have furniture available. And if you work in a city or a county, look for your hotel liquidators. We used our hotel liquidators in New Haven, and it worked out great. They would give us everything, and they were just really just great, just wanting to help the fire department. Polikoff, any other resource for our listeners to say, hey, maybe you haven't thought about reaching out to them?
Yeah, if you've got a a college in your area, when we did one of our Jerry Fickus memorials a few years back, we did it on the grounds of Delaware, University of Delaware, and they had actually just changed out a lot of the furniture in their dorms, so they just had a butt ton of old dorm furniture, and we outfitted. We actually had high rises to use. They were going to knock them down anyway, and we furnished what 3 or 4 rooms worth of furniture, RJ, to run our RIT drills and things like that. So we had bed frames and cabinets and wardrobes and all that stuff was free. It was we just had to haul it away. So your local colleges that actually have usually your 4-year colleges that have on campus dormitories and things like that. You'd be surprised what they're willing to give away. What you take away is what they don't have to pay for to haul. So things like that to look for. Habitat for Humanity. A lot of times they'll get a lot of stuff that comes in. There might be stuff that they can't use for building materials and things like that. You just got to be creative, especially with today's budgets constraints and things like that. You're not going to be able to open up your wallet and go buy new stuff that you're going to destroy. You'd be surprised of what's out there that you can use. So yeah, just be creative. Like once you get a bunch of firemen together, they'll be able to figure out a lot of things, circumvent the system a lot of ways to get what they need to train.
All right, so let's move this now to
Hey,
go to
I got
RJ and we'll come
two
back up.
more, and I'm sorry that my brain thinks like this, but two more I thought about that I have used that's very helpful, especially being big enforceable entry, that kind of stuff. Garage door companies, a lot of times, garage door companies, what they pull out is junk versus what they put in. So a lot of times, garage door companies won't give you brand new panels, but if they get one damaged panel, they'll pull that panel out and put a new panel in. Most of the times, I know at least around here, the garage door companies, they have, for every panel they have to pull out, they have to take to the scrap yard. And so a lot of times they wait till they get a huge pile to make it worth their while to go to the scrap yard versus running to the scrap yard for each 1 or 2 panels. So garage door companies is a good one. Now, I'm sure anybody listening, if you work for the fire department, I guarantee that in your fire department, whether you have 30 stations or 2 stations, you're going to get some garage door panels. So that's inevitable. Another one I thought about that's been great to us is locksmiths. So a lot of times locksmiths, when they go to replace a lock, they'll pull out their old ones, and it's, especially because they don't have the keys to them. What they'll do is locksmiths will take all their locks and put them in a box. They wait till their box gets at least heavy enough or decent enough that when they take it to the scrapyard, it's worth their while. So a lot of times we can go get locks from them, especially commercial doors, your Adams Right locks. You'll never have the keys for them, but the functions of them always works. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll take them, we'll just throw them on a kitchen table and leave them there for guys to just tinker with. But locksmiths work great. And a lot of times you can take those locks, and I'll tell you, the cylindrical locks that you find in the Adams Right locks, even though you don't have the key, if you can drill a hole through the side of it, you can put it in anything and use zip ties to run around it, and then use the K tool to pull the lock, and then you're breaking the zip tie. So those are 2 things that came to my mind, and I'm sorry that my mind thinks like that. But garage door companies and locksmiths are great because those businesses usually wait till they have a lot of something before they make it worth their while to take it and scrap it.
No, those were great points. Anything that comes to mind. Now let's move a little to getting the props actually built. One of the things that I found very useful is if you have a recruit class, if your department puts on a recruit class, give, going back to what RJ said about having a mission, is get together with the crew class and think what prop would work really good at this training facility that kind of the recruit class can put their name on. So, for example, New Haven's search and rescue, their maze was built by a recruit class. So they got their logo on it, recruit class, 56, whatever it was. It creates some ownership. It builds some teamwork. It's a great way to do it. The other way you can do it is have an actual shift. Dave McGlenn, weigh in on that.
Yeah. So without trying to incriminate myself, I'll just because of who I work for. So
You got the greatest boss in the world. What are you talking about? Who you work for?
I'm not talking about that. I'm saying. So I'll just say it. So it's okay. So we had some Army reservists, right? So there's an MOS 12 Mike in the Army, and that is firefighter, right? So that's their job in the Army, right? So annually, every other year, we'll host them for a few weeks and get them through their required hours for their on the job training stuff and all that. So when we were building our props, we had, I don't want to say free labor, but extra hands. These guys loved it because they got to do stuff, and it put them to use. So we were able to utilize a lot of them. So if for your audience, not everybody is just a municipal, right? So if you're federal, you got engineer corps out there, you got reserve companies, you got people that build stuff, and especially if they're in the reserves, they need to find a way to maintain their discipline for their job. Have them help you build stuff, right? But also, the fire service is beautiful because we got every walk of life. So everybody either knows a carpenter or knows a guy that builds decks, a guy that does construction, a guy that does framing, a guy that does masonry work. They're all in your firehouse, and if they're not, their uncle or their dad or cousin, whoever, right? Everybody knows something. Everybody has some kind of walk of life. So, utilizing your shifts to bring them out there, but then repaying them, right? So, like, I'm not talking about pizza parties, and I'm not downplaying that because there's some relevance sometimes when
Don't be cheap, Dave. Buy him some
right.
pizza. What's wrong?
No,
with you?
but I'm saying because it gets overdone. Like it's usually like the Chiefs ready to stick it up your ass. So let's throw a pizza party for everybody.
Tell them if it ain't Connecticut pizza, just don't even bother.
No, I haven't had it yet. So New Jersey pizza.
If it ain't Connecticut pizza, don't even bother.
Whatever. I'll try it and I'll let you know after I try it.
New Haven, and you guys will love you, and the girls will love you.
Yeah. No, but you take care of them, right? So like the guys, give them some downtime between calls or whatever on the shifts. If it's not a busy day, if there's nothing going on, these guys went out, they busted their ass for a few hours, helping you build props, spread it out, space it out. They learn that you appreciate what they're doing. They appreciate you, that you're taking care of them on the back end. A lot of my guys, when I was in the training division, uh, I was able to put guys in for like time off awards, and then like I was able to put them in for like commander's recognition, so they would get like a cert from the commander or even a medal depending on what they did, or a coin. And I used to put these guys in for that stuff, because I would say like, hey, they dedicated this many hours to the training division by instructing, by building props, by bringing in materials that they found or bought, right? So don't overly take care of the guys, because then it loses its luster. But make sure that you pay them back for what they do, and the team, they'll build it. Like, if you build it, they will come. If you buy them pizza, they will build it. No, but no, seriously,
Dave wants to give them time off. He throws around nickels with
right,
their manhole covers. It's
right,
like
right.
trying to get a beer from him at FDIC. He's nowhere to be found when we're ordering. So,
No,
Dave,
no, but
step up.
seriously though, I mean,
Give him some time off. Give him a coin.
Yeah.
The recognition's very important. But buy the men and women of your fire service a pizza. When you're a chief officer, you can't afford to look cheap. Okay?
Right.
Dave Polikoff, weigh in on this. If the crew gets together and they're doing a good job, shouldn't you at least feed them?
Buy them pizza.
Absolutely. Saturday or Sunday, we were. I went to the volley house just to. We were actually cleaning up. We have a back of the bay lounge, and we had some old gear racks, things like that. So I just put out on our little group app, hey, I'm coming to the firehouse. We're gonna move some stuff around. I'm buying the coffee, which is free. And we had like 6 or 7 dudes show up, and we cleaned the crap out of this firehouse for like 4 or 5 hours. And I went to our fire chief, Eddie. And I said, hey man, let's buy him lunch. And he's like, yeah, go ahead and get the credit card. So we bought, some large pizzas, Papa John's, they delivered, and we all eat pizza. It's the little things that, especially in the volunteer world. I'm going to tell you right now, I know we're getting off topic, but it's the recognition of, hey, thank you for doing stuff around the firehouse. We appreciate it. And I've said it 1,000 times,
because that's how you get quality props, is by getting buy-in from your members, and they know that, hey, when I give a little extra, I'm going to get a little extra. That's okay. If people didn't want to be recognized in the fire department, they would have joined the fucking CIA. So they're firemen, firefighters, men and women. They want that a boy. They want, as Brunacini would say, when they're doing good, give them a cookie. That has to do with getting things done on the training ground and the fire ground. RJ?
Yeah. So one thing I thought about, a lot of success from us has come from the people who help us really want to get their name out. So, we have guys on the job here that are welders, carpenters, electricians, and if it's the first time they've done it, they kind of want to get their name out. We got a guy on the job here in Frederick, man. He's a phenomenal welder. And every time I go to him with an idea, he hooks me up. And usually what he tells me is, hey, man, spread the word and send people my way. And then, a lot of times, you take a picture of the prop and you put it online. You guarantee to get somebody to say, hey man, that's a cool prop. Where'd you get that prop from? Hey, go see this guy. Hey, how much does it cost? I don't know. Go talk to that guy. And so a lot of times they really want, especially if it's the first time it's being done, the recognition can be to help them get their name out. Tagging them in a social media post or putting pictures out there, and then it kind of helps drum business. We have a bunch of guys. I love supporting people on the home front. We have a lot of guys who have done this company is solid, and all they wanted in return is for us to just say thank you publicly. So other departments, other companies, training groups, whatever, can go to these people to buy the props. And it helps them on the back end. They hook you up on the front end, and maybe they can drum up some business from a bigger group or training group on the back end, and that's a win. And then it helps you from when you have another idea. A lot of times these welders, they can do a lot of stuff with scraps. They have a big project going on and they have some stuff left over. And then most of the times what we want, is very small, right? If you take a simple rebar cutting prop, a window frame, that's 4 pieces of metal put together in a box, right? And so all they need to do is weld that on 4 different corners, a decent weld, and now you have a window bar cutting prop. And a lot of times, guys, welders, especially good welders, they have that in scraps laying around their shop. It just may not be something that they have thought of to come up with. And by you bringing it to them, it's probably something that they could throw together quickly. So that was one of my notes that I had, and the other thing I had was, as much as a lot of us on this video are very much old school, there is a new school of life, and that's YouTube. A lot of what we can learn is off YouTube. I'll tell you one personally that I had. I was building a bailout wall, and I wasn't sure exactly how it should go. And I got on YouTube, and damn if there's not plenty of instructional videos of how to do it. And it really didn't take as much lumber as I thought. We had the pieces laying around. I was able to put it together, and YouTube is the way of life for a lot of how tos and get things done. So those are my 2 things that I wanted to add to that. Helping people get their name out and where to find these things on the interwebs.
RJ, 2 suggestions to build upon what you were saying. One with the rebar prop, with having somebody weld it up. That's great. Not everybody does have a welder. Another suggestion for the rebar prop that somebody else came up with, I call it borrowing brilliance. It was probably before YouTube. It was probably on a stone tablet. But we took inline valves, plumbing valves, like 1/2-inch inline valves, where you just open up the valve and you mounted them on a 2x4 frame, mounted the frame to the burn building. You open up the valves, send the rebar through, and the valve just acts as a vise. The normal, like, picture turning on your hose outside the house, and it just holds it down. They get to cut the bars. You just open it up, put new rebarb in, makes it really interchangeable, and it keeps the drill moving forward. So I thought that was a great addition. And you could also take a burn building. You got your burn building. You could take that 2x4 with the inline valves, 3 on each side. You could hinge that. So in other words, it's not actually covering the opening. You can close over the window. They could cut it, but if you need to open it up, you just hinge it out of the way. And then one suggestion that I've always thought was missing on a lot of bailout props is we still gotta instill in firefighters that when you get jammed up, try to isolate the area you're in. So I always recommend, if you're building a bailout prop, build it out a little bit further and put a door to the room. So have them come in, close the door as part of the drill, go to the window, set up their bailout, and go out. It just helps create that muscle memory. I'll keep going around the horn. Dave, you got some props that somebody could build?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll be
The
remiss.
The other Dave.
Oh, Polycoff? Well, you said you went around the room. You're going out of order now. We're going around this way, and you're skipping.
I'm dyslexic. I couldn't even figure out how to get this podcast going.
Okay. Then I defer to Polycoff. Go ahead, because Frank's changing lanes here. All right.
It's you talk about building props. I would go out on a limb and say that us, when RJ and myself and the rest of the fellas, we are the king of building props. Especially if we don't have it, we can go and build it. We can say, hey, this is what we want, and we're going to go get the material, and we'll build it. We ain't carpenters by any stretch of the imagination, but we can build some shit. But yeah, the rebar prop, and I can attest that be very careful with rebar, because after you cut it, that shit is sharp. It'll definitely cut your hands up. But same thing with the props that we have for vent enter search. We have the props that fit into the window. We have the Lexan glass that goes in, where you can actually take out the Lexan glass and then take out the center sash. It's made out of heavy duty metal, go in and do your event inner search, isolate the room, and then come back out. So there's a lot of props on the market, and if money's tight, you can. There's just so much stuff you can build, and like I'd like to tackle on what RJ said. YouTube has everything that you need to figure out how to build something.
Dave,
Even
explain your
even like
Lexan for VES a little bit more, just in case somebody's not familiar with it that's viewing this.
Well, I'll finish my thought, and then I'll defer to RJ because I know we've used that particular prop. But the last thing I was going to say is we've built, if you don't have access to bring your fire engine to the training ground all the time, we built a hose prop where it's actually a cross lay, made it out of wood, and we can put the lines in there and we can deploy back and forth without having to have an engine company there. Now, I know we've used the vent inner search prop, RJ, with the Lexan. I think we had one built. So I'll let you talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so had a guy on the job who was pretty good in welding. He was able to make a window frame with a removable sash, and you go to Home Depot and just buy a sheet of Lexan and cut it down multiple ways, and then pop them in. So that's another good thing to do. Now I'll even go a step further, and not just necessarily a prop, but things that help you with training. Usually around Christmas time, I like to always post the stores that have sales with toys. And Marshalls, Ross, TJ Maxx always has around the holiday season a table right in front of the door when you walk in, and it has a full display of dolls. And I like to buy the dolls. The dolls are very cheap; they're probably $5 to $10. And what we'll do is we'll buy the dolls. We will literally cut the back of them open, take out the stuffing, put a brick in it, and then put the stuffing back in it, and then duct tape it back up and put the clothes back on it. The reason being is a lot of those dolls are actual sizes of babies. And then by you putting the brick in it, it helps to give that doll a little bit of the weight. And the weight whereas most kids would be heavy. So sometimes you can, their heads are the heavier parts. So by having that brick in there, it gives that weight of something to really look for while they're searching. So again, little things like that to help you with training, not just necessarily props, but things to help with the training itself. If you had no props at all in your firehouse, you had no way of building any props. If you had a doll with a brick inside of it, you can always take that doll, you can hide it in your firehouse, in your bunk room, whatever, and still have people do some kind of training, even with just something as simple as a doll.
Polycroft said he's been at your house and it's kind of scary. You have a room that just filled with and that was before you were a fireman. So I don't even want to go. I don't even want to go there.
The firehouse or the firehouse, no excuses.
On the VES prop, the Lexan thing I think is great. I've also seen them, build kind of like a hinged Lexan so that they can move it out of the way. A real cheap way, especially if you're smoking up a room for VES. PJ Norwood and I did it. See, we always come up with cheap stuff. Is we put a couple nails on the side of the windows and we just stretched a trash bag, the thick contractor bags, because we had a large recruit class. There was probably 40 recruits in. We were trying to run them through as quick as possible. We found the trash bag at least holds the smoke in. They get to go to the top of the ladder with the Halligan and smash it out of the way. It at least gives you a little something. So you don't always got to do something real formal. Sometimes you can do something informal. Dave McGlenn, give us some props.
I give you all three props for being on the show. Now, no, so I just want to comment on or compliment RJ with the brick thing. So like, I love that, man. Like, I love anybody that thinks outside of the box for that realism, right? So like, it's already one thing to grab the dolls, like, all right, cool, forward thinking, right? Then it's another to be like, well, this isn't as real. There's going to be some weight to it. Let's fill this thing up with something. Like, just good kudos to you. And then for the listener, like, it doesn't stop just because you got a prop, right? Like, add to it, create more elements that tailor it toward reality, because you're also building muscle memory. So you're not just building them to go through the technique, you're building the confidence, but you're also building that like, hey, I remember when I felt this when I was in training. So this is a similar thing. So my training's going to tell me this is how I got to navigate through this, you know? So kudos to you, man. I think that that's awesome. I love when people add that extra step for reality. It's like, that's awesome. One thing I'll say with props. So I didn't even think to say it. In your own station, you have props. Now we've talked about that, but one thing that we didn't talk about is, you know, a lot of departments do hose testing. Hose fails, right? LDH fails if you're running 4 or 5 inch, you know, that rubber jacketed stuff. So where I'm going with this, we built a Denver prop years back. And in my experience, having built one years before when I was up at West Point, we messed that thing up pretty bad because, you know, just between it being out and the different, you know, and the elements and the moisture in the air, and then the guys just banging the shit out of that wood, right? So like we realized like, oh, we got to keep replacing boards and replacing. And it just, you know, all the time, it was like a lot of TLC for this one Denver prop. So when we built it where I'm at now, we took a lot of the failed 5 inch and we covered the back end of, you know, where that the window part of the Denver prop is, and then even the walls and then the frame of the window. So as you're banging the shit out of that, moving guys around and getting them through the window, there's a protective barrier over that. So we added to the longevity of our prop just by using failed hose that we had in the station. That what we're going to do is throw it out, you know. So we ended up covering the wood with it, and now it's a lot. We haven't had to change the prop or fix it in almost 4 years now, and we've done a ton of drills there just because of the longevity of it being protected by that rubber hose. So I throw that out there too to the listener, the viewer, is just, you know, you have shit in your own station that can help with the life of this stuff, how long it's going to last, you know, because the main thing that we're talking about here is we're trying to be innovative with gaining props on a tight budget. So if that's the case, then you already don't have the budget to keep fixing the shit. And guess what? You know, we're firemen, so you're going to break your props. So if there's something that you have to try to help it get more out of it, there's stuff in your station. And that ties back again to Frank, your suggestion with how you slide the rebarb in like a pin. You keep the drill going. You're not getting guys stagnant. They're not losing the appeal to want to keep training. But we're also putting less wear and tear on somebody having to weld constantly, you know what I mean? Or build something constantly. So, you know, there's always innovative ways.
Not a welder though. I much rather have a whole bunch of stuff welded together.
Oh, hell yeah.
If you don't have a welder, you know, this is another way of doing it.
Right. No, I agree. But that was
one of the low tech things that we found that works really well, especially for search and rescue as an instructor, where you want to watch your people. You know, we know smoke machines are expensive, getting the fluids. Most of the time when you go to use it, they don't work. But not having that smoky environment,
get cancer.
right? Where you have a non-smoky environment. As an instructor, you can watch your people as they're doing their search patterns. We use press and seal. You can just buy that at the grocery store, put it right over the face piece, crinkle it up a little bit. It gives them enough where they can see movement, but they can't really. It really works, and it allows you as your officer or supervisor or instructor to watch what your people are doing while they're searching, making sure that their patterns are correct, making sure that they're, you know, doing the things that they should be doing when they're searching bedrooms and isolating doors and things like that. So press and seal is cheap. You can buy a roll of that.
Dave, you were cut off a little bit by the dispatch. Did you say press and seal saran wrap for the inside of the masks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. No, you put it on the outside. Don't put it on the inside. You just put it on the outside, right over top of it, and it's enough where it you can't see. You can see light. You can see shadows and things like that. But again, from the instructing standpoint or supervisor standpoint, that you can actually manage your people, watch them, find mistakes, and then correct as you go while we're doing search patterns, whether we're doing targeted searches or we're doing large area searches and things like that. Advancing hose lines in with obscured visibility, it allows you to, you know, really fine tune what your people are doing. So that the press and seal, it's cheap. You can buy a couple of rolls of that, and that's going to last you months. And it's only like, you know, $3 for press and seal.
That's great. On the search and rescue, uh, the maze type of thing, a lot of places have the floor that drops where you can then throw the fence over them for Mayday. Something I thought was kind of original we put into our maze in New Haven is where the floor was completely level. We then built down a couple inches and then put racquetballs on a subfloor and then put a half-inch piece of plywood on top of it, level with the original floor, and put carpet over it. So now when the firefighter's crawling, the floor is spongy. So we, at that point, we have given urgent message. RJ, any other original prop ideas that you could think of?
Yeah, so I don't know why we didn't think of this sooner. Uh, but the one thing that everybody can get from here to Halifax, and we can do so many things with pallets. Uh, Pallets are hands down, especially if you're a training company, when you show up to a place to go teach, if you don't have a lot of the stuff that you need, you can always find pallets, and you can get a lot of shit done with pallets. Just and my years of teaching, things that I've been able to do with pallets. I've been able to make walls out of pallets. I've been able to make stands out of pallets. We talked about the rebar thing earlier. We were able to take a pallet, pop off a couple of the slats, take the thicker ends of it, drill them out, and we can drop the rebar in through that, and then put that on a stand. There's so many different things you can do with pallets. Um, SCBA Confidence, we do a RIP program. You can take 3 pallets and literally make a wedge out of them. Take 2 pallets, put them like leaning on each other, and a pallet on the bottom, and now you have a triangle. That is, a part of the Pittsburgh drill, which is, going over that wedge with the down firefighter. So there's so many things you can do. Excuse me. So many different things you could do with pallets. You have to have an acquiring mind to be able to put anything together. I will say also pallets are helpful when you're trying to get force punchy walls without having to do sheets of plywood or anything like that. We found that with 4 simple pallets, and if you find 4 pallets that are comparable in height, you can literally make a decent wall out of that. And another thing that we've done is we stacked pallets up, 3, 4 high, made walls down the side of that, and then build up, little 2x4s on the sides, and now you've made a window frame. So there's so many different things you can do. And I think pallets are super easy to come by. People are always trying to get rid of pallets, especially industrial areas. If you go to industrial areas, they're always trying to get rid of pallets. I know in this area, a lot of industrial businesses get a lot of shipments on pallets, and they really just want them gone off their property. They just haven't found a way to dispose of them or take the time and energy to get rid of them. So that's another thing to think about. You can do a lot with pallets.
RJ, if any of our viewers or listeners want to get a hold of you and your teaching company, well, what's the name? What's the website?
So capitalfiretraining.com. We have a website where we do have a lot of, and a lot of times we have in our website, we have a document section where we have some, little tips, tricks, things like that, where you can download stuff just at home or at work or at the firehouse, and do this stuff on your own. Not necessarily does it have to be us doing it for you. You can do it on your own. It's just sometimes you just need a little guidance and a little know-how. So, yeah, absolutely.
Dave McGlenn, last word of the night.
Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a man of many words, so I got a couple things. So, for the listener, building props, utilization of space. So I'll just share quickly. We did a raised floor where you had to go over the rafters, and I was like, "There's empty space now under that." So we got one of those ribbed construction tubes that you can go through that under there, and made a prop where if we're going to do the mass confidence, they crawl through that tube first, back around, and then go up over the rafters. Now we eliminated useless space, right? So utilize all the space you have. The sky is the limit. then I'll say that we got a new book that all of us are in called Setting the Standard. I have no idea when it's going to come out, but it's going to be going to copy edit hopefully in a week. So we should be excited about that. But everybody on this call was a contributor in that. The three of us co-authored it, and then we had RJ contribute to it, and I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be good. And we talk about stuff like this, about training stuff, about utilizing training properly, implementing training properly, and what it takes and all that. And I think it's gonna be a good story for everybody. But yeah, so just I'll be at FDIC if any of the listeners are going to be there. I'm teaching on Wednesday, I think at 1:30. My class, the training officer, do you have what it takes? So hopefully I see you there. If not, I'll be all over the country for the next few months. I'll be down at RJ's thing in March, so I appreciate that. I'm going to be doing a keynote there, so that's pretty exciting. But yeah, just look me up. I'm on social media. My name is Dave McGlynn. My teaching company is Passion and Leading, and this is just a lot of fun. I think that the takeaway for anybody here is understand that budgets are tight. That's the norm, and I'm not downplaying it. It's just understand you're in good company. So there's 4 dudes right now talking to you about how to be resourceful and network and be innovative and make things practical and real, and it'll be an amazing thing that you're going to really appreciate because you built it and it makes sense. It's practical and it costs you almost nothing. So that would be my takeaway: is just keep training, and just because you don't have a good budget doesn't mean you don't train.
Dave Polikoff, last word.
Yeah, to echo what everybody else is saying, you got to train, and you don't need to have a ton of money in order to have props at your firehouse to train. You're only limited by your imagination. One of the things that we didn't touch on that RJ and I have seen more and more as we're moving forward, these Connex containers that you can get. They're not terribly expensive, but I mean, we just came back from Florida back in October, and this firehouse had a complex built out of them, 2 stories of the burn building and search and rescue and all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, a little bit of concrete work for footers. You get Connex containers delivered. The sky's the limit at that point, where you can build a 4-bedroom, 2-story house if you wanted to. I know when we did Cromwell for the very first time, they have that in the back of their firehouse. So you're only limited by your imagination. Don't let the fact that you don't have a ton of money stop you from having props and doing quality training. It's from rearranging the furniture in the bunk room and doing maze drills to going out in the back with junk cars doing auto extrication. Like RJ said, a bunch of pallets. You can make a decent maze with pallets, making them walls, people crawling through. So you're only limited by your imagination. The bottom line is you got to train. The moment you stop training is the moment you need to get out of the fire department because you're getting dangerous. I too will be at FDIC Monday morning, kicking it off with the 4-hour workshop with Command Under Fire. You can find me on just about every social media with Side Alpha Leadership. Always open for conversations. And RJ, plug your training as well. You didn't plug your FDIC.
Yeah, I was just gonna say RJ is teaching at FDIC.
Before I do that, again, my brain is all over the place. So I do want to tell people one resource that is national: Boy Scouts and Eagle Scouts. Boy Scouts and Eagle Scouts always have projects that they have to complete for the community, and a lot of times, they just need to know what it is, or they need to have somebody come to them to say, "Hey, we need this." I can tell you many times, at my volley house, an Eagle Scout made us a bailout wall to do the Denver drill. I know a neighboring jurisdiction, they had Eagle Scouts do a full blown training tower. So Boy Scouts and Eagle Scouts is a very, very a very good resource that people can reach out to. And a lot of times, like I said, they have to do a project to give back to the community. They just need to know how to do it because they're not firefighters. So you might have to provide them with some kind of documents of like, hey, this is how you do it, or this is how you build it. They might need that guidance. So again, that's another resource. And so lastly, I too will be teaching at FDIC. I'll be teaching on Friday. This is my first time delivering my own presentation. It's called Efficient and Effective Forcible Entry. bigger buildings create bigger problems, and it's a class on forcible entry for commercial buildings. So again, very very psyched to do this. I'm very honored to be able to deliver a presentation with fire engineering and FDIC. So thank you.
RJ teaches a great class. Make sure you check out his class at FDIC this year. It's great. Even if you think that you're squared away with forcible entry, it's always great to get different perspectives, because it doesn't matter how long you did this job, you'll always pick up something that you didn't know that you can use on the next alarm. So, RJ, look forward to seeing you at FDIC. Think that's going to be great. That's it for Politics and Tactics tonight at FDIC. You might not learn anything, but I promise I'll entertain you. I'm teaching tactical leadership on Tuesday, a workshop. Definitely come out. It's a good time. If nobody shows up and it's just me and you, we'll go to the bar and have a couple beers. But I hope to see you all at FDIC. I'm also going to ask Fire Engineering to put a link to Anthony Avillo and I's training minute on Bilco door forcible entry, because the Bilco door prop in that we made is just great for drills, and it's a great way to get through Bilco doors. And I'll have him post the article that goes with that training minutes as well. That's it for Politics and Tactics tonight. Honor to have Dave McGlenn, the training officer, on our show tonight. RJ, the guy who knows where to get good pizza, even though he's in Wick, Maryland, and Dave Polikoff, who is not only a chief, he also is the IT guy and saved this production tonight, because I totally blew it, and that's okay. So, Dave, thank you very much, and that's it.
Hey, just know that if McGlenn say, "Hey guys, I need your help. I got pizza," check your schedule. Check your schedule, because he's got Papa John's for you.
Nah, I'm getting Little Caesars, bro. It's even cheaper.
And that's it for Politics and